be kind to your mind. It's important to protect your peace as you battle lupus. Lupus can make you feel overwhelmed, and you can struggle with mental wellness. You may feel stressed and anxious and may not know how to deal with it. It's time to be kind to your mind. To give yourself permission to just breathe. To share your feelings and release your tensions. No, you are not alone. Just have a little hope, and today take the time to look after your mind. We won't fix everything, but we can help you cope with today and whatever tomorrow brings. But for today, just be kind to your mind.
Hi, I'm Serena Sun, founder and director of Breaking Taboo, a nonprofit on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And today I'm happy to be here speaking to you guys over at Lupus in Color. So I will be answering a few questions that were given to me regarding mental health. And here we go. Let's get started. So the first question is, what does mental health mean? Well, as I always say, mental health is health, but it's always been strange to me that once the word mental is put on the word health, people get all weird about it. However, if you were to replace that with the word physical, as in physical health, it makes perfect sense to most people. So that is because currently today, physical health is widely accepted as health, but most societies and people still have not accepted that health also includes the state of our minds. So that to me has always been kind of ridiculous because actually the reality is every type of health comes from right here, our brain. Our brain is the central controller of everything that happens to our body, our thoughts, our emotions, our physiology. So, in that sense, it actually becomes impossible to ignore our mentalities with the concept of health. Now, the mind itself can be broken into a few different variants of study. So, there's our mentality, there's our psyche, there's our brain, and there is our mind. And the first one, our mentality, as in our mindsets, is something a lot of personal development coaches will talk about, our mindsets. Therapists also sometimes talk about our mindsets, which actually lead us to our psyche. So then there is our psyche, as in our world of psychology, which is a huge field with so many different areas of study. Some people might think that it's just Freudian concepts or just sitting in a therapy chair, but no. Psychology is one of the most vast fields out there, and it is constantly growing and coming up with more things to study. And then there is our brain, as in our brain in the world of neurology or medical studies or biology, physiology, the more traditional physical studies of our brain. And finally, there is our mind, which is actually a pretty cultural and more abstract and theoretical version of viewing all of this here up here. For example, our minds can often be referred to in things like meditation or concepts such as consciousness. And by the way, consciousness is also a field of study And it's very fascinating. It's a more newer field in psychology, but there is a study of actual consciousness and what is human consciousness and all the things surrounding that. So it's really fascinating. So some would argue that the word mental also includes our consciousness, the awareness that we are ourselves and that we do exist in this universe. Some people might say that this is also in the spectrum of mental health. So, all of these areas are encompassed in the word mental. And when we talk about the health of it, that's when we talk about mental health. So, that means, of course, we have to explore the concept of health. So, health basically means, as defined by Merriam Webster, a person's mental or physical condition. Notice that it does say a person's mental or physical condition. Now, I'm not sure how recent this is, but I'm glad that the word mental is, in fact, found in the dictionary today under the word health. So, health means the condition in which you are in, which, according to that definition, can mean you either feel good or you feel bad. Notice that I said feel. We'll get back to that in a bit. So, it's either your stomach is hurting or it feels good, or your leg is in pain, or your leg feels strong and you can run a few miles. Physically, if you were able to take an actual visual look at it, health could look like, unfortunately, there's a tumor in your body, which may be a concerning state of health, or your body looks normal and healthy. So, let's go back to what I said before, which is feeling, right? So, unless you can actually physically see something in your body, typically what tells you about your state of health is what you feel. Feelings are emotions. Feelings come from your brain, which again actually ties all into mental health. This is where chronic health conditions and mental health can cross paths a lot. If you're physically not feeling well, the signals of pain are still triggered in your brain mentally. So, thus, your emotional state is affected, and thus, your overall mental health is affected. It is perfectly, totally normal. People with lupus often deal with depression and anxiety. So, one of the questions is, what are ways that we can cope? One of the major feelings when people deal with depression, anxiety, and mental health issues, or even chronic pain, is that they feel like they are alone. You are not alone. Thousands of people experience depression and anxiety every year. Millions, actually. And I don't say that to minimize your experience. I say that to let you know that there are communities you can be a part of for support, and that those communities are very important. Communities just like this one, Lupus in Color, is such a wonderful thing for you to be a part of and to share your experiences with each other and to support each other. That is so important. Sharing, opening up, communicating, and supporting. Some other ways that you can cope is to have a toolkit of coping mechanisms close by you for times you feel down or for times you feel overwhelmed. For example, your favorite book, your favorite movie, your journal, art book, all of these things can bring you peace and clarity, which is very important. Lastly, remember, you are strong. You are a miracle, but you don't have to be strong all the time. And that is beautiful. You are beautiful just the way that you are. Okay, so the next two questions I'm going to combine. Why is there a stigma on mental health? And how do you break the stigma of mental health? So, this is quite a question. Because the stigma or taboo of mental health runs deep. Generations upon generations, cultures and societies all across the world. So it's not up to you to break the entire stigma or the entire taboo of mental health for everyone else out there, but you can absolutely do your part in creating the change that you want to see. You can do things like join or volunteer for a nonprofit like ours, Breaking Taboo, or you can do everyday, daily things like speaking up when you notice misinformation out there or when you notice judgment. You can choose not to stay in silence when you see injustice. You can be supportive of other people with mental health conditions. You can spread awareness and education because many times people stigmatize things simply because they do not understand it. They might not be the most receptive to hearing it sometimes because sometimes people would rather stay in ignorance or find it difficult, almost threatening to change their ways of thinking that they had held onto so strongly for so long. So then it's your choice. Choose your battles, but know that there are battles to be had and that it takes many battles to win a war. For someone like me, who is an advocate, many times it's not even a question of choice, as I would be betraying my values otherwise, as my entire mission statement and the mission statement of the nonprofit I have founded is built on the slogan, kill, silence, save lives, because it works. Stopping silence works. Speaking up works. Educating people and bringing awareness works. It creates change. I've gone through many hardships because sometimes I won't shut up about the things that I want to change or the change I want to create. But heck, otherwise, it wouldn't be advocacy work. Okay, how do you stop self stigma? Self stigma is an interesting topic. So, self stigma happens when you start to agree with the public's perception or society's perception of who you are versus who you ought to be. And you internalize that, and then you start to stigmatize yourself. So, this can be expressed in ways like feeling alienated, feeling embarrassed, ashamed, inferior, or disappointed in yourself for whatever it is that you're going through. Feeling that the illness is your fault, feeling that mental illness or whatever it is that you're going through has ruined your life. You might be feeling that others are incapable of understanding you and what you're going through. So, according to a 2006 journal titled The Self Stigma of Mental Illness in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology, public stigma refers to the negative attitudes held by members of the public about people with devalued characteristics. Self stigma occurs when people internalize these public attitudes and suffer numerous negative consequences as a result. Now, I believe that we all experience self stigma to an extent. We experience a certain judgment or expectation that we place on ourselves based on how we were raised or what society teaches us. It's not always easy to stop because that would require us to really change our own conditioning. But you can learn to quiet the voices in your head that tell you bad things about yourself and really think, is this me saying this? Or is this someone else telling me to say this about myself? Okay, so now for the final question. How do I get better mentally? Well, there are a lot of ways to reach a state of mental healthiness, a state where you feel like you are in a good place mentally, because remember, a lot of health has to do with our feeling. Of course, I would recommend getting a therapist or a mental health coach to guide you in your journey. But remember, no one knows everything about you. No one person has the answers to everything that you need. You yourself need to embark on your own mental health journey. You are the only person who can heal yourself. Healing requires a lot of understanding, looking at yourself, the events and the traumas that have made you who you are today. It requires self acceptance, which is a journey. It is a journey, I think, that almost everyone is on. There are so many self-help books out there and books on psychology. I mean, heck, maybe even take some psychology courses at your local community college, or just do some research on it and on your conditions and the subject of mental health. I mean, the more knowledge and awareness that you have, the more it can help you. My mental health journey is the same as my self-development journey, and it does not stop. I have immersed myself in so many self development workshops, trainings, courses, and I've read so many books. Heck, I've even gotten a degree in psychology, and I'm still working on healing myself, bettering myself, and becoming the person I believe I can be while still learning to accept myself just the way that I am. There are daily rituals that you can do to improve your mental health on a day to day basis, such as exercising, getting sunlight, drinking water, eating healthy, socializing, doing things that stimulate your brain to improve cognition, immersing yourself in the creative arts, listening to positive emotional meditations, doing things that you love, motivational videos. All of those are mental health boosters that you can do every day. But ultimately, I don't know what your own mental health journey will look like. It looks different for everyone, but know that you are not alone. You are unique, and that is beautiful. And you are not alone. There are resources and help that can ease your journey. And instead of feeling ashamed, be empowered in taking the steps to heal, to learn, and to get better. And know that it does get better. Thank you.